So I want to talk a little bit about breaking your belief on price. So the idea is like, there's a lot of concepts and principles and ideas behind the idea of money and business and cash and price. One of the ideas is that like money is finite, right? Meaning like there's only so much money to go around. There's only so many clients to go around. All of that kind of idea, right? So if I get a client at my gym, like the guy down the street can't get a client at his, or I took that client from him. So the idea of like finite money is the same idea, right? So they only have so much money to spend for jiu-jitsu, martial arts. Right. And I want to kind of break a couple beliefs on the idea that like if I get $1, someone else can't get $1 from that same person, or if I get a student, someone else can't get a student. The idea of that kind of finite idea that there's only so much to go around, it's just not an accurate portrayal of the business that we're in and the environment that we're in. The other thing that people kind of, especially in our industry, people talk about, and you'll see in the threads, people won't spend that around here. People don't have that kind of money around here. I can't get that from people around here. Basically in general, and this is a very general statement, but I think it's very accurate. In general, we almost all of us, even I to this day, we almost all underestimate the amount of money that people are going to be willing to pay, right? We always kind of think from our pocket, or we think from the idea of like, oh, well, they have 4 kids, or, oh, my area, or like, oh, my competition is doing this. And we really need to get out of our own ways, right? So we need to get out of the idea. We need to get out of our own mind when we're pricing things, and when we're starting to have these kind of conversations about price, about business practice and stuff like that. We are not our customer. So it doesn't matter what we will do, right? It matters what our customer is willing to pay. And like I said, most of the time, we're almost always underestimating how much a client or a member will pay for whatever it is, private lessons, group instruction, whatever that looks like, right? Kind of one thing that we want to realize is that people always have access to more money, right? The idea that like I only have $100 a month, I only have $1,000 a month to spend on whatever it is, it's really not an accurate portrayal. People will find a way. Right? If they find the value in something, they will find the way. So again, if I have a job, I will get a second job if I want to do something. I will get a third job if I want to do something. I will sell something if I want to do something. If we want to get access to that, we will find a way to get that money. And that's the idea of finite money. Like, oh, they only make $20,000 a year. But if they go sell some stuff, now they make $22,000 a year. If they get a second job, now they make $24,000 a year. Like finite money, finite people, it's just not an accurate portrayal. So we have to remember that people will spend the amount of money that we can make them realize that this problem will finally be solved, whether it's weight loss, whether it's a disruptive child, whether it's camaraderie, they miss the boys and hanging out with the team members, right? All of this stuff. They will find a way if we show them the value in the product. It goes back to like, oh, these are bad leads, or these are bad, the people in this area can't afford it. There's a mindset that you have to have that, so if you have a zip code, around your academy, and that zip code is your lower end housing or your lower end people or whatever, you have to have the mindset of like, okay, the people in that area may not be able to afford this, right? If that's the mindset you have, that the mindset is going to be broken. You're never going to sell anyone that comes from that area, that comes into your facility from there. So the mindset that you need to have is, if I've ever sold one person from that area, right? The winner's mentality or the winner's outlook is going to be, if there's one person in this area that can afford this or that did this, there's more people in this area that have that. And I just got to figure out what that process is, what that message needs to be. But there's not one person in that whole zip code that's willing to buy a $200 jiu-jitsu membership. No, that's a loser's mentality, right? There's only one person in this whole area that's willing to spend money on health and wellness and getting better and these things. No, like the idea is like, oh, there's probably 10, there's probably 100, there's probably 1,500, there's probably 2,000, but there's a pattern and a thing that I need to say or a thing that I need to figure out to be able to find that right message for those people in that area, right? That's like a winner's mentality of like, hey, there's not just one person in this area. Like you're talking about a zip code, right? Like, oh, get that zip code out of my ads because that zip code, they don't have any money over there. Really? Like, I don't know about that. I told a story a couple weeks ago. I had a guy from one of those zip codes come in, brought him and his child in, ended up paying $3,000 or $4,000 up front for both of them to train from that zip code. Like there's a message that needs to be portrayed maybe to that zip code. There's a program or an idea that I got to talk about to get those people in that area interested and to target the right people. But the idea that there's only one in that whole area that's willing to spend money on health, on self-defense, on nutrition, on whatever, like it's not accurate, right? It's a loser's mentality to think there's only one person in that whole zip code that's willing to do that. So you have to have the mindset that like, no, there's 10, there's 20, there's 100, there's 50. Like really, like how many do we need from that zip code to come in and actually make some money, right? So again, that finite idea of like, there's only one in that area, like that's not good, right? No, there's an abundance. There's always going to be an abundance. There's always abundance of money. There's always abundance of people. There's always an abundance. And that's the mindset you kind of have to have moving forward, right? Like you can't ever say like just one, just this, just that. Like it's never that. It's always like figure out the details, figure out what you need to do, and then attack that kind of area, right? You know, even if you go into that terrible zip code and you find the worst trailer park or the worst row house, whatever it is, whatever part of the country you're in, and you find the worst little area in that whole block, and I guarantee there's brand new cars outside. There's $30,000, $40,000, $100,000 cars sitting outside of these trailer parks or outside of these row houses. If you look, there's probably satellite dishes on there, cables going down the wall into the house. You walk inside, it might be messy, but there's probably like a 52, 65-inch 5K television on the wall that they paid, $2,000 for. They probably got Apple iPads. They probably got MacBooks. They probably got iPhones. They're probably paying $200 a month for cable. Like they're finding the money to do this stuff. So if they can find the money to do that, if you can build the value of your program, they'll find the money to do the program as well. So I just want to get in the idea of like, there's never a finite amount of anything. There's not a finite amount of money. There's not a finite amount of people that are willing to do your program. And now when we talk about price, right? Like I said, if you had a $99 program, like at one point we had a $69 program. And pretty much overnight we said like, we're not doing this program anymore. We're going to charge $230 a month or $250 a month for that same exact program. Nothing changed on the delivery of the program. Nothing changed instructor wise. The times didn't change. The same classes were being taught by the same people teaching the same stuff. And we went from $69 a month to $250 a month. It was actually like $59 a week is what we were charging. Nothing changed on the delivery of the process. The only thing that changed was the sales process that went into it. So the idea of this in most people in our industry, if we tell them, hey, we were charging $69 for a program, and then the next month we started charging $250 for the same program, they're going to say like, oh, you changed the process. You're criminal. Like it's deceptive. It's unethical. Like my people in my area won't pay for that. My area, my market, my whatever. All of these things will come up. It's the same when we talk about belt tests, right? Oh, we charge for a belt test. Like, oh, that's terrible. You shouldn't do that. Most of the time that these things are saying like, not in my area, not in this thing. It's deceptive. It's unethical to do that. Like these things are coming up because people are jealous that you figured out a way how to do this. If they could do it or if they knew how to do it, they would do it. So there was nothing unethical. There's nothing, criminal. There's nothing, whatever that's going on with that program other than we figured out that like $69 was not the correct price point for that program. 250 was the correct price point for that program. We had enough confidence to make that change. We figured like, hey, even if we can only get like 1 out of 4 people, we're still making the same amount of money. And we only have to service half the amount of people. So we just underestimated the value of the product that we were giving, right? We were giving a $69 product out, but the value was way higher. So we underestimated the value of that $69 product or that program. And then we said like, hey, this is the new value that we assign to this program. And people were like, yeah, cool. I like that. I think I'll do that program as well. So we had to learn how to do the sale a little bit. We had to figure out the things to say and not to say. All of that is kind of part of the sales process, but the program never changed. The instructors never changed. Like literally nothing ever changed with the program other than us raising the price. Another example of this is Samir Chantra. He was one of our guys that came in Academy Kings. We do the 6-week for $600 price point, right? Samir came in. He's like, my market, my area, my this, my that. I can't charge that much. No way. So Samir came into the program, originally was selling our same 6-week program that everywhere in the country we're selling for $600. Samir was like, no way, I can't do this. So at that point, he was selling it for $199, right? And he did that for a few months. And I was like, Samir, you got to raise that price up. You got to raise that price up. And he's like, okay, $249. Samir, you got to raise the price up. Got to raise the price up. A couple months later, $299. And this process and this thing kept going month after month after month. And every time he would kind of launch off a new 6-week program, he would raise the price. He'd raise the price and never saw any drop in the amount of people that he was selling that program to. So long story short, a few months goes by. He goes from like the $199 price point to the $599 price point. Never changes like how many people get in the program. Never changes anything about the program, whether, give them more stuff, more classes, everything about the program is exactly the same. Just his persuasion of selling the program, his confidence in the program kept gaining. And now he's selling it for that $599 price point. And, when you figure this stuff out and you go from 99 to 200 or 99 to 150 or 200 to 250, like every time you make these jumps, and Samir was in the exact same boat, like at first he was super excited, like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. I'm selling this same 6-week program for $600. Like this is awesome. But then reality sets in and it's like, man, I just left so much money on the table over the past 6 months by not charging the amount that I should have been charging, right? So at first you're super excited that like, wow, I'm getting this money. And then you look back and you're like, man, I've been in business for 5 years. I've been charging $99 a month and I could have been charging $200. Like literally I would have doubled my money over this entire point, this whole process. If you've ever gotten to that point where you're like super excited that you're charging more, but then you thought about that you missed so much money, you left it on the table, it happens every time. And even I break my own beliefs and we break our own beliefs here at the Academy, how much people will pay for things. So that's the idea, right? That's the power of understanding the difference between finite and abundance, right? Like there's nothing finite. Maybe gold, maybe Bitcoin. I don't know. Bitcoin's price. Is Bitcoin finite? I think so, right? Like just in the belief and the confidence in the program. Again, like finite is not a thing when it comes to cash in people's pockets. It's not the thing when it comes to the environment. Like, man, I have 5-6 academies around me. I have probably 4 or 5 CrossFit gyms around me. Like, I'm not worried about any of my competition. First, I know that I can outmarket any of my competition. My process for getting people in the door and then taking that money, I can outspend anyone in marketing and not dip into any of my profit because of the system that we have. So I'm not scared about that. And I know that I live in an area that people are constantly coming in and out of. People, even if they're not physically looking for martial art training in this area, the disruptive advertisement that we do can get people that aren't looking for martial arts to get into martial arts, right? The people that are looking for fitness, now they can come to do martial arts for their fitness. people that are looking for kids activities, like now we disrupt them with martial arts. They weren't even thinking about martial arts. They were thinking about team sports maybe. So the idea of like finite is not accurate. There's a good story that goes back talking about this same principle, right? The idea of finite, right? So thinking of a finite market, right? So there's only so much of a market to go around. So the CEO of Home Depot, I think it was a few years ago, basically had the stock price had kind of plateaued a little bit, and they were looking at the idea like the only market that we really have is capped at this certain amount of money, right? Because it's the do-it-yourself market of construction, right? So do-it-yourself market for construction, it's finite, right? There's only so much of a market to go around. And he started looking at it and thinking about it, and he's like, no, it's not right. Not only do we have the do-it-yourself market, we also have the do-it-for-you market, right? So how many construction people are coming in, fixing that leak by going to Home Depot, grabbing the faucet, taking it to the house and doing that, right? So now we have the do-it-yourself market. We also have the do-it-for-you market. But we also have the new construction market, right? So a lot of the new construction guys might go to a local lumber store or a larger lumber store to get specific packages for their lumber, but they might run out of nails. They might run out of tie things or whatever, right? So now we also have a piece of that new housing market. So now we've gone from just the do-it-yourself market to the do-it-yourself market to the do-it-for-you market to the contract or to the new construction market. And then we have the maintenance market, right? So a lot of these maintenance companies that are doing maintenance contracts, like they have direct suppliers with the supply houses, but they're going to run out of stuff. So we can tap into a little bit of the repair and maintenance market. So now he's gone from a do-it-yourself market that's this big, $100 billion, to now a $2 trillion market because he can tap into all of these other markets that people didn't even think that Home Depot was really going to tap into. And it's the same with martial arts. Like, even if people aren't looking for kids martial arts today, if we use disruptive advertising, we can start to put that product in front of them and now open their mind up to that market. Activities, confidence, leadership skills, all of these things that they may be looking at Boy Scouts for, Girl Scouts for, all these other markets. Now you can start to lump all of these things together to start to build a bigger market for your business. You know, we talk about price a lot, and price has different points in your pocket, right? So you may have a price point for service, right? So we talk about this in the fitness industry or in the even in the kids martial arts industry, right? So a lot of people will pay a certain amount of money for martial arts. So that might be $200 a month. That might be $250 a month. Whatever it is that your price point is, and I'm sure you can push it up. But that money is going to be set at that rate, right? So $200 a month is what this person is willing to pay for martial arts. They also have another pocket that's going to be gear, right? So now it's like, hey, but to do this martial art that I'm paying $200 a month for, now I need to have all the gear that goes along with it. I need the t-shirts to fit in. I need the shin guards. I need the gloves. I need the headgear. I need the mouth guard. I need all this other stuff that's an add-on to that program. Oh, and by the way, there's also the tournament or private lesson pocket, right? So now we got $200 a month that we're spending on classes and service. We have $100 a month that we're spending on gear and tchotchkes or whatever they are. We have another $100 or $200 a month that we're spending on tournaments and private lessons and extracurricular stuff, right? So now this finite idea of they only have $200 to spend on martial arts has grown into $1,000 a month in expenses that they're paying for this martial art. Like, how many of you have ever got to the point where you wanted to start mountain biking or skiing or snowboarding or whatever, right? And you're like, oh, cool, I'm going to go do this. Well, first I need all the gear. I need to go get lift tickets. Oh, I got to get a hotel. Like, all of this stuff is different pockets that when we make our first buying decision, we don't think about all this other stuff that goes along with it. And then once we make that first buying decision, all of these other things just happen and really can be assumed closed, whether it be upgrading uniforms, whether it be, hey, supplements for this weight loss program that you're doing. All of these things are just different pockets. So the idea of finite pricing or finite people It's just not there, right? So I want to break that belief on the amount of price that people will pay for things. And if you do it the correct way, you build all of these structures on top of each other and you stack all these values up and you put it into a package. I sell them the service, and then my next sale is the gear, and then my next sale is the upgraded classes, semi-privates, private lessons, all of these things, right? So again, just want to kind of zone in a little bit on that idea of price and kind of break that belief of price. If this helped, put a little thumbs up in the comments that you understand this and breaking that belief on how much you can charge, how many people are in your area looking for it. And the idea is really it's abundance. There's enough to go around. Never feel like if somebody else gets a client, you can't get a client. Like, it's just not like that. It doesn't happen. That's about it. I just wanted to, drop that in there. Hopefully that helps. Put that energy out so that you get that energy back. Put that helping hand out. Like I said, I'm always here to help. So if anybody needs to talk, let me know. And also, thank you for jumping on today. All right, I will talk to you all later. Hope that helped. And yep, thanks a lot for your time today.